A man will beg a girl he loves for months, even cry for her, complain to her. But the thing about guys is, it takes very long for them to leave and move on. But once they do, they never return. So be careful before you ignore a man who loves you, cares for you, and misses you. That shit is rare. This viral statement reveals profound psychological truths about attachment, commitment, and the human decision-making process. Today, we're diving into the behavioral psychology that explains why this pattern is so common and what it tells us about genuine human connection. I'm Sergio Popovici, and this exploration will change how you understand relationship dynamics. The psychology of male emotional investment. Let's start with a fundamental truth. Emotional investment in men often follows what psychologists call the accumulation model of attachment. Unlike rapid emotional bonding, many men build attachment gradually through shared experiences, acts of service, problem-solving together, and extended trust building. This isn't about gender superiority. It's about recognizing different psychological patterns rooted in both biology and socialization. When we observe persistent pursuit, begging for months, or emotional displays that continue despite rejection, we're witnessing several psychological phenomena. First, the sunk cost fallacy creates powerful psychological commitment. The investment of time, emotion, and effort becomes increasingly difficult to abandon. Second, intermittent reinforcement, occasional positive signals, keeps the brain's reward system engaged. And third, the pursuit itself becomes tied to identity and self-concept, particularly for men socialized to view persistence as loyalty and giving up as failure. Dr. John Gottman's research on relationships identifies what he calls flooding, the moment when accumulated negativity becomes overwhelming and triggers emotional withdrawal. For many men, once this threshold is crossed, the withdrawal becomes remarkably permanent due to psychological protective mechanisms that prevent reopening wounds. The neuroscience of attachment and departure. The brain chemistry underlying this pattern is fascinating. During romantic pursuit, dopamine, our primary reward neurotransmitter, is actually more active during anticipation than achievement. This means the chase itself becomes neurologically compelling. Each small sign of hope triggers dopamine release, and the uncertainty creates a partially addictive neural pattern. Anthropologist Dr. Helen Fisher's brain imaging studies show that romantic rejection activates the same regions as physical pain, while simultaneously activating areas associated with deep attachment and motivation. This explains why someone can be hurting yet unable to stop pursuing. The pain and the drive exist simultaneously in different neural systems. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, plays a crucial role in male attachment. Released during physical intimacy and emotional connection, it creates neurochemical foundations for pair bonding. When a man has invested months or years building these neural pathways, we're not discussing abstract feelings, but actual brain chemistry and structural neural changes. Here's where it gets critical. When someone makes a decisive break after prolonged attachment, the brain begins pruning neural pathways associated with that person. Simultaneously, new neural connections form around the decision to move forward. Each day of non-contact strengthens new pathways and weakens old ones. Dr. Gottman explains that the brain treats relationship separation like withdrawal from addiction. Once withdrawal completes, the brain actively resists returning to that state. Additionally, humans possess what psychologist Dan Gilbert calls a psychological immune system. Once someone has processed the pain, rationalized their decision, and rebuilt their self-concept without the relationship, this immune system makes returning psychologically unattractive. Even if external circumstances change, the mind protects itself by reinforcing the exit decision. The critical threshold and point of no return. Why does departure take so long, yet prove so final? The answer lies in how decision-making operates differently across individuals and contexts. Many men approach major relationship decisions through extended evaluation, weighing options and consequences over prolonged periods, rather than making quick emotional choices. Negative experiences accumulate until reaching a critical threshold, at which point cognitive dissonance reduction kicks in. The mind doesn't just make the decision, it then justifies and reinforces that decision to maintain psychological consistency. This creates what researchers call the point of no return. Once crossed, several protective mechanisms activate. Emotional compartmentalization allows separation and containment of feelings, preventing wound reopening and creating rapid psychological distance. Energy redirection shifts investment toward career, hobbies, new relationships, and personal growth. The same persistence that maintained pursuit now maintains forward momentum. The never-look-back mentality becomes not stubbornness, but psychological protection. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, this pattern has adaptive value. Persistent pursuit demonstrates commitment and reliability, traits that signal good partnership potential. However, complete departure after threshold crossing protects against infinite investment in unreciprocated connections, conserving psychological and material resources. The finality also protects against exploitative relationship patterns, where intermittent reinforcement keeps someone trapped in unhealthy dynamics. The rarity of genuine commitment. This brings us to the profound truth. Genuine, persistent, unconditional care is statistically rare. Research suggests that only 20 to 30% of relationships involve the kind of persistent care described in our opening statement. The combination of genuine love, active daily care, and consistent longing despite rejection is psychologically uncommon. What makes it rare? Several factors converge. First, emotional availability. Many people carry unresolved trauma or insecure attachment patterns that prevent deep connection. Second, authentic investment requires vulnerability that most people protect against, especially after previous hurt. Third, maintaining care and pursuit over extended periods requires psychological resilience that's genuinely uncommon. And fourth, continuing despite rejection requires setting aside ego, which conflicts with psychological self-protection mechanisms. Traditional male socialization makes this even more significant. Men are socialized towards stoicism and self-reliance. Expressing need, longing, or emotional vulnerability conflicts with cultural masculine ideals. Therefore, when a man persistently expresses these emotions, it often represents significant psychological courage and departure from conditioning. Understanding this rarity has practical implications. In our current cultural moment, dating apps and social media create an illusion of infinite options. This reduces the perceived value of any single connection. People dismiss genuine connections, assuming they are readily replaceable, but psychological reality contradicts this assumption. Deep, genuine, lasting connection with someone who consistently shows love, care, and commitment is statistically uncommon and should be recognized as such. Recognizing and responding to genuine commitment. How do you recognize when persistence represents something genuinely valuable versus manipulation or unhealthy attachment? Genuine commitment shows consistency across time, months, and years, not just weeks. Across circumstances, both good and challenging, across moods, even when frustrated, and between actions and words. Real love involves tangible sacrifice, time invested meaningfully, personal goals adjusted thoughtfully, ego set aside for connection, and vulnerability maintained, despite risk. Distinguish between persistence with manipulation, which includes pressure, guilt, control, and boundary violation, and persistence with genuine care, which includes patience, respect, continued showing up, and honoring the other person's autonomy. The latter is rare and healthy. The former is toxic and should never be confused with love. If you're being pursued, honest self-assessment matters. Are you genuinely uninterested, or are you testing, playing games, or enjoying the attention without intention? Clear communication is psychologically crucial. Ambiguity is cruel to someone emotionally invested. If you're not interested, be clear and final, which is ultimately clear. If you value the person, demonstrate it through action and reciprocity, not just words or intermittent encouragement. If you're the pursuer, maintain self-respect boundaries. Pursuit should never mean self-abandonment or losing your sense of identity. Practice reality testing. Is there genuine possibility and reciprocal interest, or are you pursuing unavailability because it feels familiar? Assess your investment honestly. Are you investing in someone who shows reciprocal care and respect, and maintain exit clarity? Know your limits and what would constitute reaching your personal threshold. Conclusion. The psychology behind this pattern reveals profound truths about human attachment, the limits of persistence, and the nature of genuine commitment. Emotional investment is psychologically costly, involving neurochemical changes, vulnerability, and significant time. Thresholds are neurologically real. Once crossed, protective mechanisms make reversal unlikely. Genuine commitment, combining persistence, care, love, and consistency is statistically rare, and recognition matters tremendously. Don't take genuine love for granted because it genuinely may not be there when you finally decide you want it. The deeper lesson. In a world of infinite choice and constant distraction, recognizing, valuing, and reciprocating genuine love, when it appears, is one of the most important psychological skills we can develop. Real connection is rare. Real commitment is rarer. When someone offers you both, persistently and genuinely, that's not something to dismiss lightly or assume will last forever. Because psychology, neuroscience, and human behavioral patterns tell us it won't. Understanding these patterns helps us navigate relationships with greater awareness, compassion, and wisdom, both toward others and ourselves. That's the real value of psychological insight, not just understanding behavior, but using that understanding to make better choices and build healthier connections. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Subscribe for more deep psychological analysis. I'm Sergiu Popovici, living in Munich, Germany, reminding you that the most important psychological work we do is understanding ourselves and honoring genuine connection when we find it.